Hey, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Thanks for joining me. On October 18th, I have a short story collection called In Those Fading Stars coming out through Crystal Lake Entertainment. I'm extremely excited about this collection, and as part of the lead up to it, I'm going to read for you a short story from the collection, a personal favorite of mine called Moongrave. Moongrave originally appeared in a shorter form in the Manawaker Science Fiction podcast, and here it is in its full form. Moongrave. I half expect Captain Lee's body to rise up and drift towards the stars while I work. The low G of the moon causes a mismatch in the effort to drive the spade into the ground and the effort to fling the gravelly substrate over my shoulder, so my movements jerk. If I'm not careful, any one of the motions might tear a muscle or damage a tendon and prevent me from finishing this grave. The crew back on the orbital will understand that I just had to bury her, that I wasn't in my right mind. Concede that they don't have the fuel for a retrieval landing. Mission Commander Briggs is empathetic. Maybe they won't ask why Lee's transponder had been disabled. No doubt it'll come up. No doubt their sensors registered Lee's suit's failure. They might lump the two things together. Nonetheless, I piss myself again. The suit's waste management system collects and stores the expulsion. As the saying goes, being able to piss yourself freely is the privilege of babies, the elderly, and astronauts. I'm grateful because every time I look at Lee's faceplate, I lose control. The ESA will need more than a decade to launch a follow-up expedition here, but I'm young enough that if they find the body and run a full diagnostic, the beam back will end my career and land me in prison. If only we'd landed somewhere where decomposition could occur, I wouldn't bother with burial. Life needs an atmosphere around it, and so does death. Landing team, respond! Briggs' voice erupts over the comm. What the hell's going on down there? I keep scraping dirt left, then right, scoop and flip. Controlled movements, always controlled. Your frame doesn't know your true strength until you do manual labor in low G. Michelson, do you read? Briggs says. We are not receiving Lee's vitals. Is Lee compromised? It's not my fault. I mean, it plainly is, which is why I must bury her, but who can operate under these conditions? They rigged together as many spacecrafts as they could and launched us 3/4 train to every moon with an orbital launch window. Humanity's last great hope was more like humanity's last great shotgun blast. If I tuned my transmitter to the right frequencies, I'd catch the chatter from at least half a dozen landers around Jupiter as they established base camps around the fab sites. Only a matter of time before teams met tragedy. Only a matter of time before someone like Lee was compromised. Jesus Christ, Michelson, Briggs says. Your suit's pinging back, so I know you're listening. I dug a grave for my daughter's cat in the middle of the night once. The poor thing had gotten into the cabinet under the sink, and God only knew how much roach poison. I didn't know how I'd left the cabinet open, but it was during training. I'd not been sleeping. Do you know how much they expect you to read before they shove you in suit and strap you into the launch can? Do you know a cat's throat can melt out of its mouth? We told Alyssa the cat had run away, that I'd left the door open. Sometimes we'd talk about the adventures her kitty must be having out in the wild whenever we'd catch Alyssa watching out the back windows. Lee has run away, I want to tell Briggs. Lee is not okay, I say. My voice hitches. Repeat that, please, Briggs says. What is Captain Lee's status? Lee's dead, I croak. Again, my bladder releases. Understood, Briggs says. Stay put, we're coming to you. No, I say. Immediately, I recognize my panic and correct. Negative. We do not have surplus fuel. I will return in the lander and the launch window as scheduled. I cut comms altogether after the last word and scream inside my helmet. No question that Briggs will accept my refusal. Weight is precious, so fuel is calculated to the drop. Our reserves are catalogued in ounces. Nonetheless, it took all I had to hold my composure for so long a sentence. I shouldn't be in this position. I didn't volunteer to be here. They've dumped so many steps and protocols on me, so many things I couldn't miss. Hadn't I paid enough already? My daughter was 12, so she only kind of understood, and the folk back at Mission Control were kind enough to give me regular updates on the divorce proceedings, on Ellen's remarriage. More power to her, I guess. Who wants to be married to a human bullet launching through space at 20,000 knots per hour? My daughter's messages, though, were always sharp, piercing things, more ballistic than I. Conscription's a bitch, am I right? All our hopes go with you, my ass. Now, I'm on the surface of Themisto, next to Captain Lee's body, and every spadeful of dirt rises in an unnatural arc, drifting back down with the ease of falling snow. Places like this don't want humans here, but then again, neither does Earth anymore. As a child, I never understood heat and thirst like I did at launch. I try not to look at Captain Lee's faceplate, though the reflection of my shoulder lights glares the whole thing nearly opaque. My mind keeps telling me she kind of resembles Ellen, but she's the only woman I've seen in years. Otherwise, I haven't acknowledged that she has a face since her eyes ruptured. Her eyes were fixed on me the moment before, full of blame and fear. She knew I'd missed something in the pre-walk checks. Standard operating procedure requires 146 pre-excursion checks prior to egress, and exigent mission parameters add another 38. Test circuit 1A through 1C, test servos 1, 2, and 3B for full range of motion. The sequence requires a minimum of 4 hours to complete, and we'd already been running on fumes from jury-rigging the crawler to bring us to the secondary site. By the time you hit step 100, you test a circuit or a servo or seal, check the box, and hardly process more than information occurred. In a way, this is Lee's fault. We were supposed to complete the fab site initiation and inspection, boot the biosphere regulators, and be on our merry way back. Instead, Lee spotted the site coming in our landing burn. Took a modeling scan of the cavern mouth on descent. It said structurally sound caverns are colony site gold. I told her that we should stay on mission, but she suggested maybe my daughter would forgive me if our risk discovered her new home. That caved me. We beamed Commander Briggs, and Jerry built the crawler for a bit more distance. Without that, we could have come back resembling heroes. I would have seen my daughter before she turned 35. She'd see me anyways. I don't know if Helen would either, but that could have been some nice closure. Instead, I wore myself out helping to rig the crawler and then completing 182 pre-excursion checks. 184. Shit, I can't think. All I can do is feel exhaustion and guilt. It was bad enough burying that damn cat. Now I'm burying Captain Lee on Themisto. I switch on my comm. It was Lee's fault, I say. There is silence from Briggs. Then, say again? I look at Captain Lee. The grave is almost deep enough that I can cover her, and there's no wind here to sweep her clear. I disabled her suit transponder, so my hope is that if and when the colonists arrive, they will be unable to locate her mummified remains. I still don't know what step I missed in the pre-excursion check. I can't say that I know for sure it was my fault. It's not my fault, I transmit again. All I know is that exactly 2 minutes and 36 seconds after we exited the crawler, something in her suit failed, and she vented her atmo. She was dead before her suit could auto-seal. Raw Themisto is antithetical to life. Truth is, I believe even our prefab bubbles are a fool's hope. Yet, here we are, getting her gear out in front of the cave that would possibly reduce Colony's energy demand substantially when she gasped. Straightened, turned to me and said, "Come here, now!" Her tone was 10,000-volt current. I reached her in 3 steps, and she clamped her hands on my shoulders. "Something's wrong," she said. Then she vented. Her face was clear. She knew I'd missed something. I bet she knew what I missed. Then her eyes ruptured. Commander Briggs is speaking through the comm, but I've no idea what he's saying. Just that his voice is getting more angry and urgent. I look at Lee's body. "Tell me, God damn you!" I snarl. Suddenly, Lee's back bucks and her arms and legs fail. She's like a centipede with a broken back, spasming in all directions all at once. I shriek and stagger back out of the reach of her flying limbs. By her grave, Lee twists on her side and writhes while her hands claw at her mask and neck. Red lights flash all over the inside of her helmet, pulses illuminating what remains of her face. "What's happening?" Briggs is shouting. "Repeat, what is happening?" Lee's eyes are hollow ruins, and something pink and chunky forces her mouth open. My words all cease, and I can't stop shrieking. Then it's over. Lee's chest convulses. She sprays the inside of the faceplate with blood and fluid. Stills. It's gradual, like a machine with a dying battery. My chest heaves, sucking through my remaining oxygen in great drafts. My face is a mess with tears I cannot wipe away without opening my faceplate. I want to open my faceplate, but my suit will not allow me to open my faceplate. I kneel and take Lee's hand. If her brain still functions as whatever is left of her escapes, it might just register that little comfortable pressure. How will they tell her wife? No doubt it will be full of somber pomp. Men with stars on their shoulders, eagles on their sleeves, a folded flag. Her wife would press her lips together, nod grimly, maybe drop that single tear from the middle of her eyelids like in the movies. The Admiral would say, "I regret to inform you," or "on behalf of..." I finally realize that Briggs is still trying to get through to me. "I'm here," I whisper. Briggs stops. "Jesus Christ," he says, breathless. "Lee was still alive," I say. "I don't know how, but she was still alive. Her suit vented and she died, and I dragged her here, and then just now..." "Calm!" Briggs snaps. "Slow breaths." I process, hearing my voice with a lag, and recognize that my pitch had been climbing. My breaths are ragged gasps, uneven and raw. Lee probably lost consciousness before the suit could seal the vent. If her heartbeat was stable, the auto-stim wouldn't have fired unless she went into VFib until enough blood loss, I knew already. The vent had damaged the sensors, so I couldn't get a vitals read out of her. If I'd taken her straight back. Thank God our craft lacks any kind of equipment to bring Lee's body home. For them to expect me to bring her body home. And her suit. No doubt any examination would reveal that I'd missed a step. That this death was avoidable. After all, there are 146 primary procedural checks and 38 additional for the exigent circumstances, each tested for a potential source of catastrophic failure. Each was the flip of a switch or the push of a button checking off a box. With the checklist, a monkey could complete it. "You need to get back to the lander," Briggs says. The night before, I'd been rereading the messages from my daughter. The final one ended. "I hope you find something out there worth missing my life for." She never directly acknowledged anything I said in the messages I sent back, no matter how many questions I put in my 1,000-character limit transmission. I doubt she has ever once heard me apologize. "Do you read me? I repeat, you need to get back to the lander," Briggs says. "I'm sorry," I tell Lee by her half-dug grave. I'm sorry. She can't hear me either. I wish I'd said it before she'd vented, because in that moment, in my heart, I knew it was my fault too. "Get back to the lander," Briggs says. "That's an order." "I'm sorry," I say again. This time it's not to Lee, but to Briggs as well, to the ESA, to Themisto for being here at all, for me having desecrated her sterile perfection with the grave. It's then that I know that I can't go home. I'd land on a dying planet that we don't have enough time to plan a proper escape from. The missions like mine are fleas hopping from a swimming dog in a vast ocean. The fate of all mankind, we were told, even though we all know at best it's only a sliver that can be saved. The children of the conscriptonauts like me are guaranteed spots on the first settlement launches. The thing is, I'm not sure she's my daughter anymore. She's a genetic remnant. Daughter is something that has to live in her heart. I raise Lee's hand and clasp my other hand to it. We are species of two on this tiny moon. It doesn't matter if I miss step 19 or 87. Once again, I let my family down. I look over to the crawler, drag Lee back over to it, and lift her into the cab. The Misto is so small that gravity is a fraction of even the moon. A child could have lifted Lee. I feel like I'm lifting a child. Carefully, I straighten her in the shotgun seat so that she gazes into the heart of her discovery. The rigidity of the suit helps keep her upright as I connect the 3-point harness straps. This will be better than a shallow grave behind a rock outcropping. The vehicle hums softly as I power it up. I reach over, place my hand back on Lee's. Then I drive us back to the cave. I have enough O2 for a decent ride. If I can prove this site a better candidate, I can transmit our findings to Briggs. Make sure that Lee's legacy goes down right. Maybe then, despite it all, they might deem my remains fit for return. All right, all right. Thank you so much. That's the story Moongrave. Hope you enjoyed it. Also, I hope you take the time to check out the release of In Those Fading Stars Friday, October 18th. Y'all have a great day.